Any of you want to be crime solvers like Batman or Detective Kate Beckett and Richard Castle? Well, you gotta go to school to learn. The students you're about to see here are using advanced fingerprints, meaning advanced fingerprints, not just advanced ones, fingerprint testing to solve the crime. How is it done? Well, we're gonna take you to a school where that is happening. Investigators are still figuring it out because there's the old saying. When it comes to solving crime, DNA is all the rage. All the rage, sorry. Take a look.
When it comes to solving crime, DNA is all the rage. But some researchers want to give new life to an old method of testing evidence, telling CBS News,
what we're hoping is that we'll be able to get fingerprints that current powders can't get.
Fingerprinting is still performed by investigators when trying to figure out who done it. But the evidence can be fragile. And since fingerprints are mostly water and oils, they can evaporate. That's where these chemistry students step in.
We should be able to get fingerprints that maybe someone's washed their hands more recently and they've touched something, but they've left less residue behind. But we're going to be able to get that using a more sensitive powder.
They say they're experimenting with fluorescent nanoparticles that are finer than powder typically used in fingerprinting.
With a nanoparticle, we have very small particles, very small pixels, so you can get very fine detail, a very high fidelity image.
They're hoping their work helps crack open some cold cases and brings some long-awaited justice. For Inside Edition Digital, I'm Mara Montalbano.
That's what crime's all about these days. All about the good old-fashioned justice. All right. Well, how would you feel about the stores locking down doors and locking up merchandise behind plexiglasses? Does that make you pissed off? Well, let's take a look.
We are back now with growing consumer frustration over some stores locking up everyday items like soap behind plexiglass. A recent estimate from nearly a dozen large cities finds that even as crime fell, shoplifting is up 24% in the first half of this year. Customers say the measures to stop it are making shopping a struggle.
Every single hair product is locked up behind these glass shelves.
Consumers are unlocking their frustrations.
The entire section of soft drinks and cold products is locked.
On retailers locking up merchandise.
Why do I have to find an associate for soap? It's $9.
Adrienne Perkins of Atlanta says she recently waited nearly 10 minutes for a store employee to assist her with soap.
I had to call somebody else, and then I had to wait some more, so that confusion turned to frustration, especially when associates aren't readily available to open said case.
And the inconvenience is driving her to shop elsewhere.
This experience would definitely make me lean towards buying things online.
The customers aren't quite used to not having that freedom in store, and so you've got a lot of friction, both from the employee who is running around trying to unlock those cabinets on demand, and then they're met with potentially a frustrated customer.
Retailers say they're turning to these tactics because of an increase in incidents like these on everything from designer items to everyday products.
It says press call button for assistance.
We went to a few stores in New York City to see what consumers may be facing.
Thank you. Someone will be with you shortly.
And found everything from electronics to beauty products
Peanut M&Ms, please.
to even candy in locked cases.
We got it. if he was just called something else.
But with many frustrated customers, experts wonder how long this will last.
I think if they're getting smart with the data and they find a balance, that this will subside. I think the customers will start to vote with their wallet.
That's exactly what we're seeing, and we reached out to 4 different retailers. One said, like many in the industry, we are seeing a higher level of brazen shoplifting and organized retail crime. Another noted some products are subject to additional security on a store-by-store basis, so we can continue to offer our everyday low prices, while a third said locking a product is a measure of last resort. But you feel the frustration.
How to help, though?
That's sort of, there's not a lot of great data on this at this point, Michael. One thing that it has done is it's lowered theft overall, but it also hits sales, because when people shop in an experience like this, it's not as pleasant. You don't make the impulse purchases. I do want to say every store I visited in New York for this story, they were out there within seconds. Within seconds, they were there. Even before I pressed the button, one of the store clerks was there to help me. So you got to feel for the people working in stores dealing with this as well.
But I read your mind.
He knew I wanted candy. He saw my face staring at those M&Ms.
Yeah, we won't know how long it lasts, but it's probably increased, so it'll probably stay there until I don't know when. All right, I don't know what we're gonna talk about next, but we'll try to think of something and yeah, stay with us and we'll try to think of something to talk about. We'll be right back. Castration. It's a word we don't want to hear about, but it's something that in one city which you're about to visit here in Texas can even make you think about the way you feel about castration. It's all for one judge, as you're about to hear. It doesn't happen to us males. It happens to women too. Here's Sam Donaldson.
When you have a stallion that you can't control, you can't train, then you castrate it, make him a gelding, and now you've got a manageable animal.
And now you say the same thing for human beings.
Yes.
This is madness. All we need to do is step back and look at the irrationality and sickness of this as a proposal.
Judge McSpadden, would you want to be castrated?
Certainly not.
Well, why do you think anyone else would then?
I haven't committed any crimes. I do not pose a threat to society as some people do.
A lot of people in Houston are desperate to do something about an exploding crime wave. Murder, assault, and rape have all increased dramatically there in the last 2 years. Over 2,500 reports of sexual assault against children came into Houston's Children Protective Services in 1991. Texas jails are so overcrowded, there's now a proposal to give early release to 2,800 prisoners statewide, which has further alarmed the public.
Now, Channel 13, Eyewitness News. As many as 100 convicted felons who have only served a fraction of their sentences are expected to hit the streets of Houston tomorrow, and that number could increase.
That's a frightening thought. It scares me.
I'm already scared now as it is, and that's going to put, deeper fear into me.
It was against this highly charged background that 28-year-old Steve Allen Butler came before State District Court Judge Michael McSpadden, charged with aggravated sexual assault against a 13-year-old girl. Butler lives 2 doors down from the girl in one of Houston's highest crime areas. It was here in her house that the girl told police Butler grabbed her by the arm, pulled down her clothes, and forced sex on her on several occasions, beginning in late 1990 or early 1991. The alleged assaults continued for several weeks before they were reported. And Butler's neighbors say they never thought of him as being capable of violence.
I never known him to do nothing. He always called me, Mr. Montgomery, and treated me real nice,
Still, this was not the first time Butler had gotten in this kind of trouble. In 1990, Butler was given 10 years probation for sexually molesting a 7-year-old girl. And now, on this charge, if convicted, he was facing a possible life sentence. Last fall, Butler, in jail awaiting trial, thought he saw a way out.
his attorney comes to the court and says, you aren't going to believe this, but I have a young man who's charged with that type of crime who would like to be surgically castrated as the punishment in the case.
He came to you.
Yes, sir.
Butler may have come to Judge McSpadden, but it was McSpadden who indirectly gave him the idea in the first place. Butler had read a newspaper article quoting the judge as endorsing castration for sex offenders. McSpadden, for his part, had gotten the idea from a dinner party with prominent Houston doctor Louis Gerard, who at 73 still teaches and sees patients.
Violence comes from a high testosterone level or from a hypersensitivity to testosterone. Castration removes the testicles, which produce the sperm and also the testosterone. This would take away the sex drive and would reduce the aggressiveness of the individual.
Dr. Gerard, what are your qualifications to understand a theory like this and to put it forward?
Well, first of all, I'm a physician, and
you're an ophthalmologist.
I know, but
you're an eye doctor.
You become a physician first. Don't forget that.
Butler and Judge McSpadden agreed that if Butler were castrated, he would be sentenced to just 10 years probation. Butler's common-law wife and the victim's family also agreed to castration. But when the deal became public in early February of this year, a lot of people were appalled.
No, you don't take anything away from someone that they were born with. I mean, that's not a punishment. That is cruelty.
Stephanie Butler is Steve Butler's sister. She and the others in Steve's family scraped together $5,000 to hire attorney Clyde Williams to represent him. Castration, Stephanie says, is not what they paid for.
If your brother is castrated, what do you think it will do to him?
Destroy him. While Clyde Williams and Judge McSpadden are on their merry way to write their books and give interviews, go on talk shows. This is crazy, and I want it to stop. I really do.
In Butler's neighborhood and throughout Houston's African-American community, the idea of castration evokes memories of Klan lynching.
We must raise our voice and say no. No, Judge McSpadden. There will be no castration in Texas, in the United States, or if we can stop it anywhere around the world.
The Reverend Judon Boney is head of the Houston chapter of the Black United Front and was asked by the family to help organize opposition to the deal.
What Judge McSpadden has proposed is that Steve Butler, who has not been convicted of anything, who has not pled guilty to anything, who is only the accused, go and have himself castrated. This is duress. Judge McSpadden is not God. He is not a 12-person jury. This is too awful a punishment for one man to hold.
The Eighth Amendment to the Constitution prohibits cruel and unusual punishment. But the Supreme Court has never ruled on whether castration is cruel and unusual. What some have called the sexual death penalty hasn't been performed on a criminal in this country in over a century. And those who advocate it now, like Dr. Gerard, say that castration is primarily a treatment, not a punishment.
What I'm talking about is what is being done every day for prostatic cancer and for testicular tumors. Urologists all the time are removing the testicles for that.
But that's not going to save a life.
That's going to save a life, but how about saving the lives of the victims of these people?
The right cornea is just turned out very well.
Dr. Gerard became enraged at the growing violence in Houston through his treatment of some of its victims, like this Vietnamese woman, who during a holdup had ammonia thrown in her eyes.
Good afternoon, my name is Mike McSpadden.
And Judge McSpadden, who often counsels youngsters in Houston schools on how to keep to the straight and narrow, says he's interested in castration because the present criminal justice system doesn't work.
98% of our society cannot control the 2% causing all the trouble. Does that sound like democracy?
But not everyone believes the judge's motive is so pure.
What do you think Judge McSpadden's motive is here?
We believe it's because the judge is titillated by the idea of being the first judge in Texas to castrate this young African-American man. Why is it that African-American males seem to be the first ones to become the guinea pigs, to become the ones who are victims of the experimentation of the system?
I think that's a shame that the racial factor always comes up, and it comes up in almost every issue here in Houston. And it was inevitable that it would finally come up here. If Mr. Butler had been white, none of this would have come about.
But he's not white. He's black.
He's black, and he asked for it. He requested it. That's what everybody seems to forget. He feels that this is the proper treatment for him.
Not everyone in Houston's African American community thinks Butler is the victim of racial prejudice. When Reverend Boney preached on the injustice Butler was facing, the family of the first little girl Butler molested walked out.
And I'm sorry, I cannot sit and worship and listen to what they're saying. Like, this man is truly innocent and hasn't done anything. Yes, he's molested children.
Well, he molested my little niece when she was 5 years old, and they gave him probation.
Some churchgoers clearly approve of castration.
If my brother molested a 13-year-old child, I'll be the one to help him to get castrated or whatever else.
If he think that's what he want, let him try.
It makes us feel good, but it doesn't stop sexual assault.
Cassandra Thomas is a victim of rape and the director of Houston's Rape Crisis Center, whose domestic violence hotlines received 97% more calls last year than the year before. She says castrating criminals would be counterproductive.
It doesn't deal with their feelings of helplessness, their feeling of anger, their feeling of powerlessness, their feeling of out of control, all the things that we know play into why men rape. And so it just deals with the problem between their legs. It doesn't deal with the problem in their head.
But Dr. Gerard doesn't just advocate castration for sexual offenders. He says it should be used on those who are convicted of any violent crime. And not just on men. And not just on those who volunteer.
There are violent women. And my feeling is, and don't forget that the ovaries produce testosterone in women. And that very well might be the reason that they become violent. And my solution to that would be to remove their ovaries.
Remove a woman's ovaries?
Yes.
Whether she wants that done or not?
Try it on a voluntary basis first. And if it works, then I think that we should change the laws to allow the judge to make that judgment.
If that shocks people, there's more. Dr. Gerard says the final benefit from castration is to reduce the criminal population in future generations. You've written that castration would stop the criminal from reproducing. You say criminals beget criminals.
That is true. Criminals usually impregnate multiple women, and they get pregnant, and they bring up their children without a father and in poverty. And many times they emulate their father.
That's what the Nazis advocated. That's what Dr. Mengele advocated.
Our streets are not safe anymore. What are you going to do? Nobody's made any other suggestions.
Such ideas have resulted in such controversy in Houston that the surgeons who had originally agreed to perform the operation backed out, and no other surgeon could be found who would do it. So on Monday, Judge McSpadden withdrew from the case. Steve Butler will not be castrated. But Houston and the country may not have seen the end of this story. Does that mean you're going to stop advocating the idea? That you would not ever entertain it again for another prisoner?
Certainly not. At all.
So next week, there may be another Mr. Butler.
There may be another Mr. Butler. And if the court felt that he wanted this treatment, because everybody knows the other treatment does not work, yes, the court would consider it.
Producing the same results as castration through chemical injection is now being carried out in a few instances in this country. But of course, that's reversible. Just stop taking the chemicals. As for physical castration, 9 European countries have practiced it during this century, but gave it up years ago because they could develop no conclusive proof that it had reduced violent crime significantly.
When we come back, we're going to do a compare and contrast, pros and cons to castration, looking at the good things and the bad things. Please stay with us. We saw a report from Sam Donaldson all about castration, meaning reducing crime could mean taking testosterone out of a person. Let's look at some pros and cons about this. The pros of this is this. It prevents testicular cancer and eliminates the area where testicular cancer grows, preventing it from developing. Second, it reduces aggression, and it can reduce aggressive behavior, especially towards male dogs. It controls the pet overpopulation and helps prevent unwanted litters, which can lead to millions of dogs and cats being euthanized each year. For us humans, that could be a problem. It reduces sexual behaviors. It reduces inappropriate urination and other undesirable behaviors. The cons of this is just surgical risks, loss of self-confidence, and learned behaviors. It can cause bleeding and swelling of the incision site, and there is a risk of infection and fly strike. Self-confidence, for self-confidence, loss of that can cause a loss of self-confidence, which may make a dog more prone to fear-based aggression, like in us humans. And learned behaviors. It doesn't guarantee that a dog's aggressive behaviors will reduce or stop, as a dog can learn these behaviors are acceptable. So that's all about castration. I mean, if you wanted it, then you wanted it, but it's outlawed here in this state. No person in this state should be allowed to have castration. It's just unbelievable, really. You can't just sit there and say to yourself, I mean, what do you want? You want jail time? You want castration? Oh, I want castration! I want castration! Please give me castration! I really want that castration! You're just yelling out like you're freaking hopped up on steroids. Oh, I want castration! Give me castration, please! Give me castration! Give me castration! It's not funny, you know. This is very serious. I mean, for one judge to have someone black to participate in this, I mean, no racial issue there. I mean, there are ways to reduce crimes. You have probation and jail time. But what about the overcrowding of jails? I mean, you don't give somebody the option. What you have to do is build more jail cells, build more facilities, or even do half and half. Half prison punishment and half probation. You know? Half the sentence, half the jail sentence, you know? One half can be jail and one half can be probation. Then they would finish your sentence being paroled with a probation officer. There's an idea. But then nope. We're going to stick to castration. I hate castration, and I will never ever be castrated, even if it meant me losing my testicles. I'm against it. If it's the same thing in dogs or other pets, what about humans? I mean, there are disadvantages of this. According to the Justice Department, disadvantages can be annotation. I mean, the castration of rapists. I mean, this therapy, which was published in 2010, could even it's all in a book. I mean, it's what the Justice Department has looked at. I mean, male castration. So I'm saying this. Studies have shown that castration can reduce the risk of certain types of cancer, such as prostate cancer, and also has a positive effect on whatever cancer. I mean, but for prison, I mean, if you're sentenced to prison, you're sentenced to prison. You don't have them choose castration. You make them finish out their sentences. You don't sit there and say, jails are overcrowded. Let's make them walk the streets. Finish their fucking sentences. Finish it. I don't want to have to go all Norman Osborn going all, finish it! Finish it! Get a gold green goblin on them. You know what? It's the first time on this broadcast we focused in on something that would make me sick. If I had more hair in my head, I would be ripping it out. You know? I've always said, you know, someday we'll have a chalkboard or a dry erase board filled with... I'm going to put you know what, someday, you know what, I'm going to put out a big chalkboard. Maybe, you know, this would be a good wall for it. And I'm going to have on here the list of the worst stories ever we covered on this broadcast. And I've been doing this for 8 years. And really, this is one of the worst stories ever we talked about. You know, the debate over castration. Not everybody would approve of castration. And you may have your opinions on it, and you, someone may have your opinions. I might have my own opinions, but I'm not going to sit there and share. I'm not going to sit here and share. I'm not going to spend the rest of the broadcast, you know, giving out debates of common sense all about castration and, you know, this, that, and the third. We got a lot more show to do. Coming up, we're going to take you to the streets of San Francisco. Probably homeless people out there. But first, a story that would even make you stop taking ecstasy. It's all about the X-Files. This man took ecstasy and he died after taking that cold shower. The coroner's report released, and Primetime Live has some lab results that could even make Sean Shan jump up out of his chair and be all like, "They got this all wrong. Here you go. You got this all wrong." Stay with us. Drugs are bad. If you watch South Park, Mr. Mackey, you know that drugs are bad. Your parents have told you that drugs are bad. Your parents might have caught you smoking a cigarette, and they might have whooped your ass for it instead of giving you the lecture you deserve all about drugs. We heard it from school counselors. We've seen PSA ads. We've even seen some commercials from Superman all about nicotine and how it's addictive. We've even watched the news reports. If you've been tuning into this broadcast, you know all about the dangers of cigarettes and why tobacco industries have sued ABC and CBS for misrepresenting the facts. But the story's not about cigarettes. It's about a new type of drug, ecstasy. What is it? Well, according to some kids, it's the kind of drug that makes you party more. You party all night long with it. Tonight, we're going to show you one of over 15 deaths that happened. And even one of his friends you're about to meet tells his side about how this person died. And why isn't the government doing anything to stop the use of ecstasy? You'll even get to see a lab that even shows the results of how much ecstasy is being used. Could it be the link to have the government put a ban on all these ecstasy products? Here again, Sam Donaldson.
The names are exotic. The compounds sold under these names are legal. You can buy them over the counter. And for some, the high is terrific.
Makes you party more. I mean, you party like all night long with it.
Yes, indeed. The ultimate thrill.
We're selling people the concept of ecstasy. That's what the public is buying.
But watch out. There's danger lurking.
Not only can it cause injury, it can cause death.
For Tom and Karen Schlendorf, who live on the North Shore of Long Island, New York, and their family, they learned about the danger in the cruelest way.
And they met the officer, and he just walked up to me and he said, "There's no other way to put this, but your son Peter has been found dead in a hotel room in Florida." your blood goes cold.
His name was Peter Schlendorf, 20 years old, handsome, popular.
I thought this couldn't be. Not my wonderful, beautiful son that I love with all my heart.
Peter was a good student, star athlete, close to his older brother Dave.
And just 9 months ago, Pete's the best man at my wedding.
I love you guys both. I wish you both the best. Congratulations.
I guess I feel a little cheated because I thought there'd be a lot more years and a lot more memories.
Spring break, Panama City Beach, Florida. Peter and a group of friends had gone down for the fun. On the afternoon of March 6th, they went into this t-shirt shop and bought some interesting-looking pills. The name on the box was Ultimate Exploria, and one could read on the box,
100% herbal alternative supplement with vitamin C. The ultimate brain food. Sounds very healthy, doesn't it?
Ultimate Exploria, along with other brands, is sold as a natural health food supplement. But the promise is of something more.
Increase your energy, magic sensations, inner vision, sexual sensations, cosmic consciousness.
What does cosmic consciousness mean?
Not real sure.
It was at the Chateau Motel, where they were staying, that Peter and some of his friends, including Don Nimsker, took the pills.
On the box it said, take 4.
But Nimsker says the salesperson offered some advice, although the management told us later that would be against their policy.
The lady said take 12, that's what she takes, and she feels good. So, me and Pete took 8, thinking we were going to be cautious somewhat.
But for Peter Schlendorf, that was not cautious enough.
But as soon as Pete consumed the pills, he started saying how he felt. Said his heart felt a little faster. But after about 15-20 minutes, he started sweating and saying he had headaches. We told him to take a cold shower, maybe he'll feel a little better.
But he didn't feel better. And at his urging, his friends went out on the town without him. And then, at 1:30 the next morning, when they returned, they saw a pair of feet sticking out from behind a bed.
Pete was laying face down, and his head was somewhat in a garbage pail, like a little hotel garbage pail. And they ran over, pulled him out, flipped him over, and started doing CPR on him, not realizing that he was dead.
The autopsy report says Peter Schlendorf's heart stopped as a result of the use of Ultimate Exploria, an herbal product containing mawang. There was no trace of alcohol or hard drugs. But mawang, a Chinese herb, contains the chemical compound ephedrine, a central nervous system stimulant.
It can cause an increase in blood pressure, as well as a rapid heartbeat, and can eventually lead in higher doses to cardiovascular collapse.
Dr. Rob Middleberg is a forensic toxicologist at National Medical Services Laboratory in Willow Grove, Pennsylvania. Prime Time paid the lab to analyze a package of Ultimate Exploria we bought at a retail store in New York. Each pill contained 28 milligrams of ephedrine, 22.5 milligrams of pseudoephedrine, and 12.5 milligrams of caffeine, all found naturally in the herbal ingredients. Nowhere on the box are these chemical compounds listed, although there is a warning that persons with certain health problems should not take the pill. But Peter was in good health, and perhaps one pill might not harm people in good health, according to Dr. Middleberg. But Peter had taken 8 pills.
If you took 8 pills, now you start going into the toxic range, where you can start to induce even the adverse effects in normal individuals.
Meaning?
Anything from heart attack to infarction to stroke.
We tried to find out from the people who distribute Ultimate Exploria about this, but we got nowhere. They have a drop box in Tempe, Arizona, where they collect their mail, and an unmarked office unit in a nearby industrial park. The day we tried to visit them, we got nowhere. Can we talk to you about Ultimate Exploria? No, thanks. Well, could you tell us what it is? Could you tell us how it's used? No comment. We had better luck at the home of Herbal Ecstasy, the most popular of these ephedrine-based health food supplements. According to reports we ordered from 2 labs, it also contains ephedrine, but in substantially lesser amounts than found in Ultimate Exploria. The company that makes Herbal Ecstasy claims to control 98% of the market for such products and is based in Los Angeles in this nondescript building. The company chief executive officer is Sean Sheehan.
We can't make claims saying that this product will get you high. We can't make claims saying that this product will give you better sex.
But if I think it is going to get me high, or if I think it's going to give me better sex, it's okay with you.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Introducing herbal ecstasy.
The promise in an herbal ecstasy ad may not be explicit, but just listen to the suggestion.
Increased energy levels, euphoric sensations with absolutely no side effects.
And on the box,
This statement appears, synergistically blended to ensure visionary vibrations. What does that mean?
That is a very catchy, if you will, marketing gimmick for selling the product. It really could mean anything.
It's a gimmick.
Yeah, a marketing spiel, if you will.
But what is a visionary vibration?
The way we see it, we're not selling a product per se. We're selling an image. People buy our product because they want ecstasy.
The child that can't buy a package of cigarettes can buy that. There's something wrong with that.
Something wrong with it, indeed. Take a look at this one.
We can only act after the fact, after harm has occurred.
Dr. David Kessler is Commissioner of the Food and Drug Administration, the U.S. government agency charged with making certain drugs and medicines work safely.
But Dr. Kessler, after the fact, is too late.
Absolutely. I agree with that 100%. What we end up doing is chasing the horse after it's out of the barn. That's the law, Sam, and people need to know that.
The law under which the FDA generally operates requires that drug manufacturers prove a product is safe before they can market it. But in 1994, Congress, under heavy lobbying from the vitamin and food supplement industries, turned that around when it comes to products that contain only natural substances.
The burden shifted from the manufacturer having to prove that a product was safe to us proving that there has been harm.
So, with no government oversight up front, companies are free to market health supplement pills just as long as the product contains natural substances.
We had been doing some research in Brazil a while back, and we had spoken to some doctors in the rainforest.
From the rainforest, then, came the idea for herbal ecstasy, which contains, among other things, Tibetan mawang, that's where the ephedrine is, German wild ginkgo biloba, Russian gotu kola, and Indonesian wild fotiking.
The formula was developed by a group of doctors.
Can you give me their name?
No, unfortunately, that remains confidential.
Where do you manufacture your product? Is there a plant?
It's in the United States,
Can
but
you tell me where?
No, I certainly can't, because that's confidential trade secret information.
The formula, I understand. Why a formula would be a trade secret.
Sure.
But who the doctors are that made up the formula and where the plant is, I don't understand why you won't tell us.
Well, it's twofold, Sam. It's because of the nature of the product. Obviously...
I mean, if you have nothing to hide, why hide it?
Well, we have nothing to hide, but there's certain things that we feel would be best kept in the hands of the company, and there's certain things that we don't want the general public knowing.
Sean Sheehan is on the record and right up front about that. But against the backdrop of Peter Schlendorf's death, the FDA has issued a warning.
Consumers need to know that there are real dangers from these products.
Is this product safe?
Absolutely.
Well, how can you claim it's safe if the FDA warns people not to buy it?
The FDA's research isn't founded in any facts. The FDA cannot document one reported incident of any injury, of any death with our product, ever.
But with Peter Schlendorf's death tied to the product Ultimate Exphoria, the FDA may be able to take action against all such ephedrine-based products. But that may not end the problem.
What happens when we begin to take regulatory action is that we're almost playing a shell game. That we go after a product and the manufacturer reformulates the product.
As a matter of fact, Sean Sheehan and his company have just come out with a new product, which contains no ephedrine. Ecstasy 2.
We found a plant in Fiji. It's a rare form of a very popular plant called kava kava.
Yes, and guess what? We had Ecstasy 2 analyzed, and it contains high amounts of a chemical compound called norepinephrine, which according to medical experts can produce the same dangerous result. Again, it's the young who are targeted, and it's the family who are left to wonder.
My son's gone, and I don't know why. I really don't know why.
And in his memory, I'm gonna go on and and live the very best life I can and do the kinds of things that we've always done in the past, so that we are proud of each other, and when he looks down, he's proud of us.
When we informed Sean Sheehan that Ecstasy 2 appears to contain norepinephrine, he said our lab must be mistaken, and his company has documents to prove it. Our lab said it stands by its results. Incidentally, there's big money being made in all this. 15 million units of Ecstasy 1 have been sold, according to Sheehan, at $20 apiece. That adds up to $300 million.
Wow, $300 million worth of this stuff? Don't buy it. Don't even let your 10-year-old buy it. Don't let a 5-year-old buy it. Don't let a 12-year-old buy it. Don't let a 15-year-old buy it. Don't fucking use your Texas ID. Get this shit. In fucking Florida with your Texas ID. I'd like to buy this, please. You got some ID? Here you go. Sir, this is a Texas Underground 21 ID. Well, I'm from Texas. Welcome to Texas. Oh, my. I gotta start with all the Texas jokes. Well, it's legal to spank. Raise up a couple parties in school. Welcome to Texas. Wow. Nothing to hide? Give me a break. You end up chasing the horse after it's out in the barn. Keep looking into this. Maybe then you'll know where it comes from. You keep doing this, that, and the third, then possibly know what happens. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back. You know, it's a safe bet that everything you're wearing right now could be made overseas. That story's come up on Monday. But last season, we did a story all about sweatshops. That investigation's come up on Monday. We talked about Kathy Lee Gifford. Kathy Lee Gifford, if you remember Kathy Lee Gifford, she was tired of all this, and so she was all like, well, you better pick up the phone right now. It's my turn. You're going to be calling this is at the third. So that's exactly what happened. And tonight, so during that last season, we looked into sweatshops because of labor. And now tonight, for the very first time, you are going to hear from Kathy Lee Gifford as she tells her side of the story. Her side of the story about why she's speaking public, and why all this is being happening in all these retail stores. Because if you were to see those retail stores back in the 90s, it may have been familiar to you. But with that in mind,
Ended a day with her just this week.
Here's some Ken McFadden.
Backstage, 8:40 a.m. Monday morning with Kathy Lee Gifford.
Okay, 2 minutes.
At the country's most popular coffee class.
And here she is, just Kathy Lee Gifford.
You hate perky, I've read as an adjective.
Only because it describes coffee, not people.
Perky or not, she has delighted, amused, and sometimes annoyed 8 million Americans every morning for 11 years.
What do they want from you?
How much more can
How much more can you give?
Hamming it up and sparring with co-host Regis Philbin.
Just sit down. I'm a low maintenance diva. He's a high maintenance king.
Initially, it was his program on which you played a role.
Which he continues to tell me is still the case. Does it really? Oh, please, at least 3 times a week. What a job I got you. She came to me out of the gutter. Oh, please.
But her face may now be better known than his. A sure way to sell magazines is to put Kathy Lee on the cover.
Oh, good, Reed.
It seems like a sort of comfortable bickering between the two of you.
That's why a lot of people think we're married. It's like a bad marriage, oh yeah.
She seems to share it all. Her kids, Cody and Cassidy. Her husband, Frank Gifford. Her likes, family values, and dislikes, often producer Gelman. She says she makes her living by playing herself on TV.
And then Cody says, "What's her name, Cass?" And Cass goes, "Mommy!"
What don't people know about you?
How smart I am, I guess. I can act silly, but I am not a silly person. I'm an extremely serious person.
Who makes extremely serious money for herself and her charities. $1 million per infomercial. Hundreds of thousands for her books, her exercise video, and her commercial endorsements.
You know, there's nothing more fun than a vacation at sea.
But nothing has been as lucrative as her clothing line, with the world's largest retailer, Walmart. Industry estimates are that the line made in excess of $200 million in sales last year.
It made more than that.
Want to tell us how much more?
I've been told $300 million the first year.
She gets about 3% of that, and that's $9 million, of which she gives at least 10% to children's charities. Because as good as Gifford is at earning it, she's also dedicated to giving it away. Most of it to her favorite cause, crack and AIDS babies. She and her husband gave a total of $5 million to charity in the last 4 years, with a pledge for $3 million more.
Who's got the cookies?
This facility, named for her son, cares for babies up to age 3. Pressure to find help for older kids led to the creation of this new building, named for her daughter, and slated to open this summer.
Nice and clean and bright.
So she's the last person you might expect to have been accused of exploiting children. But she has been.
I felt like I was being, of all people, being kicked in the teeth for trying to help kids.
The charge? That some of her clothing line was manufactured in Honduras, allegedly by children working in sweatshops. Essentially, you've been accused of being a hypocrite, of saying that you care about children and yet of exploiting children to make your clothing line.
Yeah. That's the irony of it, isn't it? That I would help children on the backs of other children. I mean, that to me is the definition of obscenity. That is very painful to me.
On April 29th, this man, Charles Kernigan, a labor rights activist, told a congressional committee that about 6 months ago, sometime last fall, his organization found children making Kathy Lee pants.
There were over 100 children in this plant making this clothing. The kids earn between 31 and 39 cents an hour, which is starvation wages.
Now, only on Extra.
The talk show host is facing bombshell allegations of using abused children to make her Walmart clothing line.
Latest on Kathy Lee, her clothing line, and allegations of forced child labor.
After those stories were on, Cody looked at me and he said, "Mommy, why are they saying you're such a bad lady?" And that's when I said, how dare he make my own child question my integrity.
So she decided to answer back.
And I truly resent this man impugning my integrity. You can say I'm ugly, you can say I'm not talented, but when you say I don't care about children and that I will exploit them for some sort of monetary gain, for once, mister, you better answer your phone because my attorney is calling you today. How dare you?
You were criticized by people who said that it seemed your tears weren't for the children who were being exploited, but rather for yourself.
Those people don't know me. They don't know the 20-plus years I've been working for children. I laughed to Frank. I said, you know, only I could give $5 million away and build a house for little AIDS and crack kids, and somebody criticized me for it.
But the criticism, says Kernigan, was not for her good works, but for what he saw as a brush-off to a letter he wrote her March 15th, telling her about the alleged abuses of Honduran children.
Well, I didn't hear about it till 2 weeks ago.
So Gifford went on the attack, saying he didn't give her enough information, and that while her clothes are no longer made in the Honduras plant, she's still not sure that children ever worked there.
I'm not saying it didn't, Cynthia, that it didn't happen. I don't know. I'd like to know. Obviously, I'd like to know if and where it ever happens, because I can't live with that. And as a matter of fact, I've been so upset about this that I am announcing right now that I am, at my own expense, implementing my own watchdog organization that will be an independent third party with impeccable credentials who will be responsible for surprise visits and regular inspections of every one of the 24 factories around the world that anything that bears my name is manufactured.
Kernighan, who has already secured similar inspections from the Gap, calls this a brilliant first step. But Gifford is still troubled that he didn't tell her immediately what he says he found.
When you wait 6 months to tell somebody about something, you're not as interested in the exploitation that's taking place as you are in highlighting a problem for your own agenda. I find the waiting unconscionable.
He says the reason he waited was because he was getting his facts straight, that he was checking and rechecking and double checking to make certain that this was true.
Well, Cynthia, I would hope he would check his facts, but if that is true, why did he have no physical evidence?
Now, he's given us a picture, which I want to show to you, of some of the children that he says were working in this factory. And the little girl in the front row, who's now 15, he's bringing to New York. And he wants to know whether or not you would meet with this child.
Absolutely, I would meet with his child. I'd meet with any child. Absolutely. But Cynthia, you do know that he could take any picture of any child and put something on the bottom. But did I know about it? Obviously not. Do I condone it? Never.
You seem to be a lightning rod in some ways. I used to think the world was divided into dog and cat people, and I now come to understand that it's divided into people who love Kathy Lee Gifford and who hate Kathy Lee Gifford.
There doesn't seem to be much middle ground, is there?
So all this stuff in the press about Kathy Mee Gifford being too...
That was clever. It wasn't accurate, but it was clever.
Doesn't hurt?
It only hurts when it affects my family. When I saw a cartoon that had Regis and Frank and Cody at a sewing machine with me as a dominatrix saying sew faster, you know, that kind of thing hurts because it involves people I love. I'm a big girl and I can take a lot of criticism. I wouldn't be in this business after 28 years if I had as thin a skin as people say I have. I'm really pretty good about most of it. It's when it affects somebody I love who is not chosen to be in the public eye. Cody hasn't, and if he's in the public eye, it's because I put him there, and I'm responsible for that, and that's hard.
Do you have regrets about that? Because you have been by some television critics. Tom Shales from the Washington Post and others have said that you have thrust your tow-headed moppets into the public eye in a way that's not fair to them.
Well, it's interesting that those kinds of criticisms usually come from people who don't have children. The man is a good writer, and that's it. Somebody that I respect a lot in the entertainment field was trying to explain to me why certain writers are so sort of vicious. And he said, you know what, Kathy, I think they somehow think you're this mouthpiece for the radical religious right. Maybe because I was Anita Bryant's secretary when I was 17 years old, that somehow makes me 25 years later Anita Bryant incarnate.
And if there are critics, there are also the fans. Number one among them, husband Frank Gifford. For 26 years, a staple on ABC's Monday Night Football.
When people attack her,
how do you feel?
He understands.
It's hard to describe, really, because you just want to go out and grab him by the neck and do something physical. But in this country, we'll forgive theft, we'll forgive murder, we've seen that, but we will not forgive success.
Would you trade the fame at this point for a little peace and quiet?
Absolutely. The fame isn't. Anybody that wants to be famous is crazy.
And yet, without the fame, could you have possibly raised the money you've raised?
No. And then so you say to yourself, is it too high a price to pay? At times it is. At times it is. At times you want to say to yourself, wait a minute. There are people out there molesting little kids. You know, I'm not perfect, but I'm certainly not a child molester. I'm not a child abuser. And I've spent more than half of my life raising money for children's causes and being there for little kids. So you say to yourself, where's a little justice? That's all you want. A little mercy.
All of which makes a weary Kathy Lee Gifford wonder if she'll continue with her daily program. Will you sign for next year?
Probably for one more year, and then I really can't see going on past that.
1 more year and...
Yeah, I think so.
Why?
It's not as much fun as it once was. I'm uncomfortable making my living anymore as me. I might do a different kind of television show that doesn't require me to talk about my life for 20 minutes every morning. Not make my life so accessible to people. Not walk out there with a target around me, say, well, right here, guys, right in the heart.
You told me that you say a prayer every morning before you go on television.
Yeah.
Which is?
Well, knowing myself as I do, dear Lord, don't let my feet hit the ground before I ask for your help so that this mouth won't hurt anybody today. That's not why I'm around. I don't want to hurt anybody. Least of all little children anywhere in the world. My mom used to say, honey, bloom where you're planted. And if you can't be a blessing, stay home.
There would be a lot of disappointed fans if Kathy Lee Gifford ever did decide to stay at home. Now, a footnote about child labor. It is not exclusive to the garment industry. Around the world, at least 100 million children are involved in making everything from sneakers to soccer balls.
From sneakers to soccer balls. All right. We don't have time for that another sweatshop story. Like we said before, child labor laws are somewhat violated, and people don't have the heart and soul to just sit there and stand up for everyone else and say, you know what, this is at in third. So way to go for Kathy Lee to stand up for herself. You know, I'm a famous celebrity here in Flower Bluff, and let me tell you, I have been targeted. Well, not really been targeted. I mean, you know, for me personally, when I've been doing this, not this show, when I've been out there performing, you know, I have been talked about on social media. I mean, back in the old days, there wasn't no Facebook, no Instagram back in the 90s. There wasn't even the internet. There was only the paper. There was only critics who just write down a piece of paper and send it to the newspaper and say, hey, look what we got. And then it targets celebrities. And even then, they can take criticism, like myself. People can say, well, they're ugly, not talented. When you say, well, this person exploits children, well, get the attorneys on the line and say, I'm here to tell you something different. Stand up for yourself and tell them who you are. You're going to have hate. As celebrities, you are going to have hate in this world. There's always going to be people with something not nice to say. So if people say, well, your music is garbage, and it sucks, and so on and stuff, just say, hey, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say it at all. Use it. Say to this person, thank you. At first, when I saw the hate comments, I thought I'd given up. No matter what, I'm going to use it to push me forward. So here's the key here. Use the hatred you got to help push you forward. And if you can do that, you'll keep on doing what you love. You'll keep on doing what you love every day. Like what I do. I may have some hate comments on this episode, but let me tell you, I'm going to use that to keep pushing me forward. Autism or not, you're always going to have hate no matter what. You're special for who you are, and that's what makes you, you. We'll be right back. Remember the janitor incident? Well, it wasn't just a janitor incident. It was the principal who yelled at a custodian because he left early. Tonight, in a Give Me a Break second look, we look back at this video, which got a lot of views. And the reason why we're going to be taking a second look at this is because there is some common sense that needs to be raised. Take a look.
So, what are your hours?
My hours is from 6:30 to 3 o'clock.
Okay. Why did you leave today at 2:45?
I didn't leave at 2:45.
You did.
I did not leave at 2:45.
We were calling you.
When I left,
What time do you think you left?
When I left, when I was leaving out that door.
What time do you think you left?
When I was leaving out that door, it
What
was
time do you think you left?
2:52 when I was going out that door.
Because you left early.
I didn't leave early because I was here early.
What time do you work till? What are your hours?
Miss Hoffman,
What
the
time-
fire,
what are you- Jonathan,
the fire
Jonathan,
people that was here this morning
Jonathan.
was outside. They had to get in the building.
Stop talking. Jonathan, what are your hours? What are your hours? I just want to hear them again. What are they?
I told you my hours already.
Tell me again.
From 6:30 to 3 o'clock.
6:30 to 3 o'clock. Okay, and you left early today.
I didn't leave early.
Did you leave before 3 o'clock?
I left before 3 o'clock.
Okay, why?
For the simple fact I had to come in here this morning because the fire people was out there outside, sitting outside in their cars, and they had to get in the building to do the fire alarm.
Okay.
So I had to come in the building at 6:15. Miss Beckett, both of us came at the same time. When I had
Who
to let them
told
in.
you to come at 6:15?
It's not. It's not.
Who told you to come at
It's not.
6:15?
It's not that I wanted to come in at 6:15, Miss Hoffman. I was sitting outside, and the fire people was outside waiting in the car to get inside the
Then
building.
they wait. We are not open until 6:30.
So they wait. They have to wait until 6:30 to get inside the building to do the fire alarms.
If they don't have a key, the building is not open until 6:30. You don't adjust your hours just because you feel like it.
I didn't do it because I felt like it, Miss Hoffman. I was
You
doing
did.
it to help the fire people to get inside the
Who told you
building.
to open the building early? Did your boss, Susan Opferman, tell you to start your hours early today?
I was not supposed to start my hours early
Okay.
today, but like I was
But
telling you,
nothing.
the fire people had to get inside. They were sitting
Who
out
is
there for
your
almost
boss?
an hour.
Who is your boss? Is your boss Susan Offerman or the fire marshal? Who is your boss?
Miss Hoffman used my boss.
Okay.
I never
what
said
are
you
your
was my
hours?
boss. I explained my hours.
6:30 to 3.
Yes.
Okay, and we needed you at 2:45, and we're calling you on the walkie, and I called you on the phone finally because nobody could find you, and the guy
I
said
had
you left
just
early.
left. No, I did not leave early. I had just left when they said that. I
You
had just left.
Jonathan, if you left before 3 o'clock, you left early. You left before your shift was done.
So let me explain this to you. From yesterday when we had the meeting, I didn't get out of here until 3:15
Why?
because you had us in the meeting.
No, I finished on time.
No, it was not. When I
Yes,
left out that door,
I
that's
finished.
the time. That's the time I left out that door.
Yesterday.
Okay.
I did. I made it a point to finish on time yesterday because I do not want to keep you past your hours.
It was when I left out the building, Miss Hoffman. It was past 3 o'clock.
I don't know what you were doing between when you left that room at 3 o'clock to when you left this building.
Okay.
But I did not give you permission to leave early today. You left before your shift was over. You left before your shift was completed. Your shift finishes at 3 o'clock. And you left before 3 o'clock without permission. Do you understand that?
I understand.
Okay. I have to call HR. I just want you to know that.
Okay. And what's
I don't know. I'm going to see what they say. Because you have
Because I left
because you left
10 minutes before the time that I was
15 minutes
in early. I mean.
No one asked you to come in early. No one asked you to come in early.
I don't understand.
You are not supposed to open this building until 6:30. Your shift starts at 6:30.
I understand that. But like I said, I had to make the adjustment because they were sitting outside in their cars trying to get in.
You did not have to make the adjustment. The only one that changes your schedule is me. The only person that gives permission for your schedule to be different from 6:30 to 3 is me. They are not your boss. I am very upset that you did not work your full shift today.
Okay, so if this is gonna be on me, you might as well get everybody else that leave the same time or leave early then too. Because there's a lot more people doing that, just me. It seems like I'm being picked out.
Well, we needed you today.
Every time, Miss Hoffman, you always picking me out the bunch, and it seems like you're harassing me right now. You seem like I'm being harassed because it's every time I come in here,
you're not being harassed.
I'm always in the meetings with you, and you always seem to be yelling and screaming at me, always telling me this, that, and the third, and it's getting to that frustration point.
Jonathan, I am not harassing you.
Yes, you are, Miss Hoffman. Yes, you are. You are harassing me.
Okay, we're finished.
You are, Miss Hoffman.
We're finished.
Every time I come into this meeting with you, it's always something I'm doing. But what about everybody else? Everybody else is doing.
This meeting's done. Please stop yelling at me.
I'm not yelling. I'm just voicing my frustration because just like you frustrated with me, I'm frustrated too.
I'm frustrated that you left before your 3 o'clock shift was over and this meeting is finished.
But you don't understand the fact that I was here.
The 10 minutes that you left earlier are now done. The 10 minutes that you owed the school are now finished. So, I'll see you tomorrow. I'll let you know what HR says.
Okay.
At 6:30.
Okay.
6:30 to 3 tomorrow, like every day.
No problem.
Yeah.
Hey, David, baby. Yeah.
I'm starved.
It would say be in the same bag. So when's the last time you took your inhaler? I don't have your space here. I don't. Okay, got space. So now you do know how to take this. When's the last time you took it?
Alright, let's look at the comment section first before we get to that apology. There's 2 parts to this video. The first part is when the principal yelled. The second part is where the apology. But first, before I get to that, let's look at the comment section. She seems like the kind of person that would probably yell at you if you hadn't let the fire department in that morning at 6:32. Okay? She talks to him like a child. A grown man, and she's talking to him like a child. Unbelievable. Where else do you work? Alright, stop talking. This guy deserves to work for better business. He took initiative of coming early in order to let the fire marshal into the building. He's been reprimanded for it. Hard to believe. He sounds like a very polite, hardworking guy. After this video was posted, Miss Hoffman, the principal, she deleted her Twitter account. That's what I've heard. We don't know if it's true or not. Let's take a look at that video. This was the aftermath. This was him addressing his side of the tale about when his, not only about the fire department, but when he got called upon on to the office. So let's take a look.
Hey everyone, this is Jonathan Holly, the janitor from Wedbridge Middle School. Well, used to be there. First off, man, I just want to tell everyone that I thank everyone for all the support online, on Facebook, on all the social sites that it was on. I thank everyone for the support. I just want to start off by saying that a lot of people had questions. I didn't get fired. I was forced to resign. Again, I did not get fired. I was forced to resign. And why I was forced to resign was not because of that video. That video led up to what they was trying to do from the beginning. And what that was trying to get me out the door for their own personal reasons. You know, it was wrong how they did it. You know, I was thinking that being that I was going to resign, that I was be able to, get back into the system. But that didn't happen. I was tricked. And when I tried to get back into the system, my application kept being denied. Wasn't getting any interviews. I called to HR, spoke with the director, Northside, and she told me, her name was Patty, she told me straight like this, you no longer can be an employee of Fulton County. How is that so? I resigned. I didn't get terminated. I resigned, right? I'm supposed to be able to get back, right? Didn't happen. So again, that was unfair. In the meeting, that last meeting that I had, when they did what they did, they showed me pictures on copy of paper, some pictures that they took that I've never seen before, saying, this writing, this little graffiti that was on the back, some pencil graffiti that was on the back of a bathroom door, and a picture of a toilet bowl with tissue and stuff inside of it. Took a picture of two pictures, and that's what they showed me, and that was the reason they backing on firing me, trying to get me out the door. That was their reason. That was the last straw, as they said, which was a bunch of nonsense. And at the time, Miss Offman wasn't at the school because she had fell and broke her leg or broke whatever she broke and was out for a while. But the principal, the substitute principal came in from a whole different county and automatically started attacking me. You see what I'm saying? I'm looking for things, doing the same thing Miss Offman used to do, you know? And I believe deep down inside that she had to know that something, Miss Offman had to have been talking to her and letting her know, like, listen, you need to be looking for this, looking for that. Because they were trying to get me out the door. Point blank, period. I did no wrong whatsoever. This lady picked on me for no apparent reason. You know, I always passed all my inspections. I always passed all my evaluations. I made sure the building was clean. I made sure my staff was cleaning the building the way they're supposed to clean. I had a schedule, you know. No one else is complaining about the building. Nobody. She was fine with the building how it was. But all of a sudden, because I wasn't letting her control me, it became a problem. You know, I'm not a yes person all the time. I'm not going to agree to you all the time. I'm going to have an opinion on things. I'm going to voice my opinion. If it's wrong, if I feel like if it's wrong, I can talk for myself. I have an opinion. You can't stop me from having that. But what she'll say is when I have my opinion, oh, you giving me pushback. You pushing back. That's not pushing back. That's having an opinion on things. You can't always be right. I don't care what position you in. You cannot always be right, period. And that's what she wanted. She wanted full control over me. Micromanaging my department, having other people coming in, trying to look for stuff. All that stuff, bunch of nonsense. I mean, we had a radio that we had to carry all the time. And, I mean, you should hear some of the stories of how she talked to me over that radio. You know, she didn't care who heard what was going on over that radio. Jonathan, come in. Jonathan, you need to come in my office. This, that, and the third. Da-da-da-da-da. Just talking to me all crazy. And people would come to me and say, why is she talking to you like that over the radio? That's disrespectful. But nobody was doing nothing about it. It's like an everyday thing. And like, again, it's messed up. And another thing, you know, before all this even began, a lady came to me, a teacher came to me and told me, listen, I heard you wasn't going to be here next year. Mind you, none of this stuff was even taking place. How you know that? How you know I'm not going to be here next year? Of course she wasn't going to tell me her source, but how you know that? Who told you that? So I believe that this was pre-planned or premeditated to get me out the door. And what I also believe is that, you know, she always talked about her budget. I was making top dollar. You know, $21 an hour. Top dollar for me, you know. They kept talking about the budget this, the budget that. Come to find out, they hired someone, an older person, okay, no experience in supervisor position at all. Just a regular student, straight to the 3 position. Never heard of. But in order to do that, that was for them to save money. You know, he's gonna work from the first year's salary or the first pay scale. And that was way lower than what I was making. And that's just not fair. You know, if that was if all you had to do was transfer me out to school, send me somewhere else, if that was y'all plan all along, period. I didn't do no wrong. Everybody loved me in that school. Teachers loved me. Kids loved me. You know, I used to get, even with y'all, with the administration, some of them, you know, I was getting, you know, they had these balls that they used to give out, you know, to appreciate you, you know, like you some type of MVP of the school. These balls that they used to give out in meetings. I got like 3 of them. I had like 3 of them balls. I was nominated for different things. I mean, I was doing what I had to do in that school. But again, when you don't allow a person to fully control you, it's a problem. It's a problem. And I had to do what I had to do. I had to take that phone in there. And I got other videos. But again, that video to me stood out. You know, you don't talk to people like that. You don't treat people like that just because you have a higher position. Treat people with respect, and you will get respect. You know, don't have people coming out your office, teachers and stuff, coming out your office crying, you know, and frustrated and stuff like that because how you talk to them, like as if you are God or something. You're not God. Who are you? You human just like us. You know, And I'm glad everyone supported me on this matter. Because this has been going on for a long time. This is not the first instance that this happened with this lady. Yeah, I've been in her office, but for stupid stuff. Stupidest things. She kept looking for things. Stupid things. You know? I've never stole from this school. I've never took nothing. I never did none of this stuff. I had the keys to this school. I was in charge of the building. You know? And as far as when the fire people came in, you know, they were sitting out there for an hour. I'm the one that's in control of the building. I'm the building person. If I need to let them in, that's my call. I'm in charge of the building. I got the key to the building. What's the problem? And contradicting yourself, you said you was calling me on the radio at 2:45, but yet I left at 2:52. So who's lying here? So if I'm still in the building at 2:45 and you said you called me on the radio, then I'm supposed to have heard the radio, right? I left at 2:52, so there you go lying again. So again, people, you know, I hope this stuff all get corrected. That's all I want. Correction. And all administration in Fulton County need to look at this and correct this matter for all administration. All of them. Because I'm pretty sure this is not only going on in this school, but other schools too. You know? Learn how to talk to people. You know? It's just a title, people. Principal is just a title. That's all it is. That's all it is. You just a title. You still work for Fulton County. You have a boss over you too. You know? Treat people with respect. Period. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, y'all, you know, again, you know, I'm doing my Uber thing right now. You know, it's hard work, you know what I'm saying? I have to be out there, you know, long hours or whatever. But I'm going to continue to support my family no matter what I got to do. You know what I mean? But again, y'all, you know what I'm saying? This is just a learning experience for me. I didn't know this video was going to be like this. But, you know, the people was talking for me. I'm not doing anything. The people talk. They see it. There's nothing untrue about what I posted or what I put out there. There's nothing untrue about it. Y'all see it for yourself. You know. So if y'all need to get at me for anything, y'all, you know, my email is jnut, JNUT129@gmail.com. Hey, get at me for anything, you know what I'm saying? Y'all want to holler at me, whatever, you know? But I'll be talking with y'all, though. Peace.
Bravo. Well done. Just telling his side of the story. And, you know, I believe him. You know, you should not be talking to people because, you know, you're higher power. If that employee had autism and you're talking because of higher power, that needs to stop. Principal's a title, manager's a title. You got a supervisor over you. Forced to resign. If you're forced to resign, you're forced to resign. You don't have to be an employee here in this county. I mean, this was also on the Young Turks. But, yeah, it's 3 minutes long. Here's what the Young Turks had to say about what happened. And then we're going to wrap it up.
Adjust your hours just because you feel like it.
I didn't do it because I felt like it this often. I was doing it to help the fire people to get inside the building.
Who told you to open the building early? Did your boss, Susan Offerman, tell you to start your hours early today?
I was not supposed to start my hours early today, but like I was telling you, the fire people had to get inside. They were sitting out there for almost an hour.
Who is your boss? Is your boss Susan Offerman or the fire marshal? Who is your boss?
It's often used my boss. I never said you was my boss. I explained my hours.
6:30 to 3.
Yes. I mean.
No one asked you to come in early. No one asked you to come in early.
I don't understand.
You are not supposed to open this building until 6:30. Your shift starts at 6:30.
I understand that. But like I said, I had to make the adjustment because they were sitting outside in their cars trying to get in.
You did not have to make the adjustment. The only one that changes your schedule is me. The only person that gives permission for your schedule to be different from 6:30 to 3 is me. They are not your boss. I have to call HR. I just want you to know that.
Okay, and what's
I don't know. I'm going to see what they say.
She has no idea what she's going to call HR about. She's just going to see what they say. This is a throwback, Karen, but highlights some very important factors. Number one, let's put up the picture. If your hiring manager has that hairstyle, she is a Karen. That's point number one. Okay? Point number two. She is penalizing a black man because he, in fact, is a good Samaritan, dutiful, and comes to work early. She then proceeds to talk to him as if he is maybe 3, possibly 4 years of age. According to the janitor who recorded this, he believed this throwback Karen from August 2016 forced him out of the school afterwards, leading him to resign. He later called it a trick. He was not able to get employment back at the institution. Fulton County Schools had released a statement regarding the janitor, Jonathan Holly, and Webb Bridge Middle School principal, Susan Offerman. It says, and I quote, "We are aware of an August 2016 video that shows Webb Bridge Middle School principal, Susan Offerman, being recorded by a former employee who was brought in to meet with her again for his continuing issues of coming to work late and leaving early. Mrs. Offerman was subsequently on medical leave, and while on leave, the school continued to have personnel issues with this employee. This employee was not terminated, but did resign in May 2016. Not a lot of smoke for the obvious disrespect by this principal. Fascinating to me. But once again, why do Karens Karen? Because typically they have been protected in their Karenicity. Way of government action, police misconduct, and others. Share your thoughts here.
And the hair industry.
Right.
And the hair industry. You are correct, Doctor. I looked it up while you were going through your commentary, Doc. Kept one eye on the screen. 1 and 2 on the list of top hair news to avoid unless you want to look like a Karen. The spikes and the skunk highlights.
Yes.
It's all there.
Right there. All right. And listen, if you're going to be a Karen, I encourage you to go all the way. Okay? Go all the way.
It's not about a Karen, it's about forcing to resign. If you're forced to resign, you're forced to resign, but I'm feeling like this person, that janitor right there, he didn't have to resign. You know, he told the truth. It's his call. You don't talk to someone like that, you know. I mean, my thing is if I was the janitor, it was my call, you know, I would ask the principal, hey, I know I'm not supposed to open the building to 6:30, but can I open it 15 minutes early because they need to get in and check the systems, even though they don't have a key. If she says, yes, that's fine, okay, and if she says no, then they need to wait. They gotta say, well, sorry, I can't allow you in because my principal told me to say not to. So can we get her on the phone? Okay. And then they wouldn't have gone to the fire department and say, well, this is the so-and-so, this and this, blah, 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 blah. And they would be like, well, I don't care. Disrespecting the fire department? I mean, you have respect for your fire department. If they need to go in and check the alarms, you allow them in. No excuses. If the janitor has the keys, that's his call. It's his call. I'm not a janitor. If I was a janitor and had the keys, you know, it'd be my call to say, okay, well, this, that, and the third. The thing you have to understand is this. Treat people with respect. You are not a god. You are still a member of this community and of this county, of the city, of the state, of the county, and of the community. You are not a god. Manager is still a title. You got a boss over your shoulder. And as a principal, you got a superintendent over your back. And as a boss, as a general manager, you got a boss over your shoulder saying, oh, this, that, and the third. It happened to me, you know. A week ago when I had lost my voice, it happened. I lost my voice. I tried to speak. I couldn't. You know, I couldn't even talk because my throat hurted. And another employee had a throat issue. Another manager had a throat issue. And so she said, I don't want to yell because my throat hurts. And it's like, okay, she kept yelling. And she kept raising her voice. And you know, you need to start, if everyone has a throat issue, you know, they need to speak about it. Just saying, hey, you know, I got a throat issue. I cannot speak. You know, what do you need to do? I mean, you can't just simply sit there and say, well, try not to just speak with a hoarse voice. You can't do that. It's going to get worse. If you got medicine to take, you need to tell your manager, hey, I have hoarse voice and I have medicine to take and I need to take it every 2 hours. Doctor prescribed. Send a doctor's note to the manager and be like, okay. Don't just say okay. If it's prescribed, you gotta take it during your work hours, you need to do so. The manager needs to be understandable and say, okay, every 2 hours he needs to take this medicine, but he can't leave his station, so what am I supposed to do? And then he calls supervisor and go, hey, you know, I got an employee here who has hoarse throat, he needs to take his medicine in 2 hours, but he can't even speak, so what am I supposed to do? That's, what are you supposed to do? You can't just have him sent home because of his hoarse voice, you know. You need him to be able to work. I've had a hoarse voice before. I took the spray out of my mouth at work, and it worked. Every 2 hours. And if I don't take that crap every 2 hours, then my voice will get worse again. Again, managers need to understand about medical conditions. Like if you got a medical condition or you have autism, the autism part is this. If employees have, say, the manager, if the new hiree tells the manager, hey, I have autism, the management cannot sit there and say, okay, that's not going to be a problem. Here's what I would do. Get an application. Put on a sticky note saying, I have autism. Put in that sticky note. And the manager's question saying, I have a somewhere hiring saying, sticky note saying I have autism. But he's going to come in and talk about it. Look, okay. That's not going to be a problem. I mean, don't just say it's not going to be a problem. Sometimes it is going to be a problem. You know, you have employees who have autism, then that can be right away because really, as a manager with kids with autism, if you have a child with autism, then you be in the same shoes. You know? Everybody has autism, especially me. I have autism. I am on the autism spectrum disorder. And believe me, you know, half the employees there don't understand that I have autism. I mean, just because you're watching news articles saying that, oh, this person has autism and he's famous, it doesn't mean you get to just shove it away and say, I don't care. You need to start caring. As a manager, supervisor, you need to start caring, and you should care. Because if that was one of your children with autism, you would be in the same shoes. And you want to know how to manage an autistic employee. You need to find some help. You need to find answers to say, okay, how can I manage this employee that has autism? Look at details. Look at facts. Ask experts. They'll sit there and tell you, okay, this is what you need to do. This is what you can't do. What I would propose is to create a workshop program for all managers to take. They want to continue to apply. They sit down with some experts. We watch some videos. We role play, and then we go on and say, and then you hear from other experts saying, okay, well, this, that, the third. Apologize, saying, hey, you know what? I'm sorry about this. You know, it won't ever happen again. Blah blah blah. You know what I mean. That's all for this edition of Give Me a Break Saturday. We'll see you again for Give Me a Break Friday. For all of us here at YouTube, man, give me a break. Stop bullying and speak up. Concentration, not strength. No jaywalking. Have a good night.